Hey, yo, welcome back to Ready to Wire. Well, it's Lecomte Day at the fairgrounds this Saturday, and there's a late pick five sequence dominated by stakes races I think we ought to take a look at. So let's do that. So this is the fairgrounds late pick five on Lecomte Day. It comprises races 9 through 13 on Saturday's card. And the first leg is the Marie Krantz Memorial Stakes. It's ungraded at 100,000. It's the ninth race, running a mile and a 16th on the turf for 4-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And this is a pretty balanced field. We have Lovely Princess, who won the preliminary to this. The name escapes me, and with Creative Cairo and Join the Dance were prominent in that race. Tufani is our lukewarm favorite at 5-2. And we've got a couple of new shooters, Anatolian and Fancy Martini, who have a chance to factor in this race. So we'll take a look and see how we play it. The front end is Swinatra is likely going to be the speed, but I think it's kind of cheap speed in this spot. I don't think matches up necessarily class wise. Join the Dance rated last time for a new trainer, and I thought that was interesting that they're trying to change tactics maybe with this one a little bit. But the scenario here would lend itself to Join the Dance going back on the lead, again with Sinatra being kind of cheap speed. And with the new shooters in here, I think if Join the Dance is going to have a real shot at taking this one down, it would be on the front end. And at 12-1, you're getting good value. Rated last time, closed pretty well, but was really no match for the top two. So I think a reversion back to prior tactics probably makes some sense. The horses stalking will likely be just off the lead. Trying My Heart Out and Unbridled Mary, I don't necessarily think are significant win candidates. I just don't think they match up quite as well. Trying My Heart Out is trained by Shane Wilson. He does like to come correct on these big stakes days. So maybe this is one to watch out for, particularly underneath in the exotics at 20-1. You're getting good value. Unbridled Mary, I don't think is necessarily good enough. Really hasn't demonstrated the form where I think she can take this one down, even though she's trained by Kenny McPeak. So we look at more the later runners, I think is where the thrust of this race will be. And you can see there's quite a few of them. Lovely Princess last time, I really think is a bet against in this race. She had everything go her way. She had a dream trip on the rail, saved all the ground, and closed well to get the job done. But again, tactically, she had a big edge. Now she's on the rail this time, and it potentially you could have the same trip available. But I thought there were others in here who are more likely win candidates based upon prior efforts. And primarily that would be Creative Cairo, who comes out of the same race and had an outstanding ride, had to pick her way through traffic, and had to swing out 6 wide and close like a freight train. And Lovely Princess was really begging for the wire. I think Creative Cairo was no question the best horse that day. And at 4-1, I think you're getting some excellent value. Definitely a prime win candidate here with a little bit better trip. I think is one that is going to be tough to beat. Anatolian is a good horse and is coming off a 2-race win streak, the last being in the mud. But this one generally runs at longer distances, and I think the cutback might compromise her chances here. While being a good horse, and I think is a class fit here, it's more the distance I have concerns over. I think Anatolian is good enough to run underneath, and with a little bit of a break, could take this one down. And at 8-1, you are getting good value. We mentioned Creative Cairo. I really liked that last race. Had to pick her way through, and with a big kick late, was definitely the best horse that day, and I think is one that absolutely has a prime chance to win this. Tufani is a new shooter to some of these, but I love the last race. Ran with a huge kick, very explosive. And I think on that alone, you're probably going to may have a favorable setup. And I think Tufani is a logical favorite here. At 5-2 is hopefully we can get something close to that. But I think Tufani and Creative Cairo, to me, are the prime win candidates in this spot. The Silver Bullet Day is our next one. It's an ungraded at 150,000, and it is an Oaks prep. The 10th race, run at 1.70 miles for 3-year-old fillies. And we look at the field, we know some of these. West Omaha and Sistina Chapel ran in the Untappable as a preliminary to this, finished second and third. Miss Code West is shipping in from Oklahoma. Perfect Shot is one that just broke the maiden for Steve Asmussen. Class-wise, this is a fairly balanced field. I don't know that anyone really has a class edge over anybody else, and that could make for a very interesting race value-wise. We might get some here. If we look at the field, the front runners are Miss Code West and Play Good, Pay Good, and Play Good, Pay Good I think is cheap speed in this spot. Just doesn't quite measure up to some of the others. But I think we'll run a pretty good race, 15-1, maybe underneath can hang on. Miss Code West, I'm betting against, and the reason being is she has had everything her own way for all her starts, been running primarily against Oklahoma breds. The last one, yes, she did go to Open Company and won, but I don't know how much she beat, and got a career high speed figure that was significantly better Brisnet-wise, we're talking about, than some of her other races. And, you know, I just got a feeling that a horse has had it this easy coming into this race, stepping up in class. That's really the concern I have. And also, you can win on the front end at the fairgrounds. That's true. But I think there's others in here that maybe offer a little bit better challenge. At 9-2, I think that's a decent price. But I just something tells me she's not going to get it done. Perfect Shot just broke the maiden for Steve Asmussen, and he's got Joel Rosario aboard. They've been lights out together. I think this one, while didn't beat a whole lot, did so in a way to tell me that this one has another move forward in her, and if that she does that, then should provide a good opportunity to win this. 4-1, I think you're getting some good value. The others, two primary other candidates, I suppose you could say, are West Omaha and Sistina Chapel. West Omaha at 2-1. I don't know how much you can like this horse when he just doesn't seem to be able to get it done. In the last race, just didn't have enough to finish. Granted, Alpine Princess did get off on an easy lead, and West Omaha did close well. That's true, but I just wonder about that. This horse would definitely need to be closer to the pace. I think she can do it. Brad Cox trainee, fully expect this one to run a good race and would have to be considered a win candidate here. I just have some reservations after that last race not being able to get the job done. Kind of the same thing with Sistina Chapel, who I think is a cut below West Omaha. Has run some pretty good races, but never anything terribly outstanding. Kenny McPeaks, they niggle along, get a little bit better each time. So I think this one maybe can run an improved effort, but I have my doubts as whether or not it'll be good enough to win. No Risk It, No Biscuit is trained by Tom Amos. That's the primary appeal here. Ran at Delta Downs last time around 2 turns. And I suppose that could be an excuse. It's a small track, bull ring, so maybe needs a little bit of bigger track to perform. She didn't run badly, and at 15-1, I think you're offering. You've got some good value at hand. Probably more likely for underneath to fill out the try, but a one I think is to think about in this spot. The Colonel E.R. Bradley is the next leg. It's 100K, ungraded stakes, 11th race, running 1.16 on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. And if we look at the field, we've got some familiar faces, Strong Quality in particular, Rising Empire we've seen on the stakes trail here and there, and Beatbox. And then you have your some old familiar faces like Protonic Power and the English Tavern. This is another one that I consider to be fairly balanced, mainly because we've got a lot of the contenders in here coming in not the greatest of form. So it does leave for some conjecture as to who can take this one down, because again, there's a lot of them coming in this race not in the greatest of form. Strong Quality would be head and shoulders above, in my opinion, but you can't like that last race. He had everything his own way in the tinsel. The field set up for him and everything else, and could not get the job done. And dirt I consider to be his better surface. So moving to turf, it does leave a little bit to be desired going into this race. Now, should have the lead, but is going to have company, as you can see. So it isn't going to be easy. And on the turf, this one has tended to give it up a little bit more readily than on dirt. So I do have my questions. I think you have to use Strong Quality for sure, but it's not coming in this race in the greatest of shape, in my view. Brigadier General will be likely a competitor. That's what he wants to do, but it's proven time and again he's just not quite as good as some of the better horses in here. We'll have a favorable scenario. Dallas Stewart on a big stakes day you got to watch for, but does he have enough running a little better race to take down or get past Strong Quality on the front end? I don't know. You are getting 10 to 1. I'd like a little better price than that. But it's one to think about if you want a horse to upset the apple cart. I'm not sure it's possible with some of the other runners in here, but one maybe to think about. Rising Empire is really hard to trust. This horse has run some good races, has run some bad races, and I think is a bit of an underlay at 5 to 1. And with other speed in this race, I'm not really high on this one. He can rate. And he would probably have to do so here to have his best chance, but I think he's better on the front end, and I just don't like him in this spot. Beatbox ran a pretty good race last time to get a good second, but I don't know. This one just doesn't seem to ever get the job done enough for my liking. Now, is coming into the race in good form, and I think that's the determinant here, is form. So from that perspective, I think Beatbox is one that you have to think about and is a must-use, but I'm not overly confident in that. At 5 to 2, I think that kind of gives an idea about that. The closers are where I think we have to look, and the main reason is because we've got so much on the front end. And particularly ones that seem vulnerable. Of the closers, I like Who Took the Money because he is coming into this race in good form. And I think that, again, is the most important aspect of this race. And at 8 to 1, I think you're going to get a little drift up from there, hopefully. And we'll offer some good value, and hasn't been tested class-wise as much as some of these others. But I think given the scenario, has a good kick at the end, as the highest closing kick on the Brisnet, so that's appealing to me. I like Who Took the Money in this spot. Protonic Power is one that could, is fully capable of winning this race. I just don't think his form is quite up to snuff as it ought to be coming into this race. But as a late runner, we certainly have to take seriously. And this is a race, given the vulnerability of some of the more prominent horses, I think we have to spread. The 12th race is the Louisiana Stakes. It's a grade 3 running 1 mile and a 16th for 4-year-olds and up. And we've got a lot of familiar faces in this field. Red Route 1, Saudi Crown, and Confidence Game, all from the 3-year-old division last year. Saudi Crown being the latest entrant into that. I think we got a pretty good idea of what they all want to do. And I think this race is probably, form-fitting wise, probably the most defined of all the races, let's say. If we look at the field, Saudi Crown, is the speed of the speed, I think. Capuna will probably give some bit of a challenge, and maybe a little bit from 5-Star General, but Saudi Crown just has the back class to tell me that this is his race to lose. I think he'll get on the front end, and if he can hold on, And he's shown a lot of grit in the past. He's a horse you have to like. Throw out the Breeders' Cup Classic. That just didn't work for him, and he had to run way too fast early. I think he can slow it down here, and he should have plenty in the tank left. Smile Happy is very logical, particularly on the fairgrounds, coming from off the pace. He should be able to sit well and save some ground being in the 2-hole, be able to sweep out and make his move late. And if he runs his race, he's fully capable of winning it. So I think the big contention is between Saudi Crown and Smile Happy. I consider them to be the prime win candidates. And then, of course, we've got our late runners, and we know what Red Route 1 wants to do. The question is he going to have enough pace to get home? And I would say with Smile Happy in this race, who likely will get the jump on him, that it's a tall order for him to win this one. However, he will be flying late. He's got a puncher's chance like he always does, and is probably more likely to finish underneath for your exotics. Happy American, we're going to throw in there. I don't consider to be a win candidate. He did do very well at the fairgrounds last year, but his form tailed way off at the end of the year, and he really hasn't bounced back to any degree. So he's got a puncher's chance at 8-1. You're getting a decent price, but I don't see him as having enough to take this one down. Better to be used under. And then finally, we have the 13th race. That's the Lecomte Stakes, the 5th leg of the Pick 5. This is one of the first serious Derby preps. It's a Grade 3, running 1 mile and a 16th for 3-year-olds. And we've got a really interesting field. It's a little top heavy, I'd say, but there is some value in this race. I think for sure we've got a couple of new shooters. Tizzy Indy and Latlong, but I don't know. I don't think either one of those really has enough to factor in this race. Particularly Tizzy Indy, I think, is a toss, and Latlong just didn't beat anything in his maiden score, and has faced some good company, but the class level of the last race wasn't much, and so I don't think Kenny McPeak, a little bit moved forward, sure, but I don't think it's enough to beat the chalk in here. So if we look at this field and how we're going to play it, Track Phantom, of course, is one, given his effort in the gun runner, he got off to the lead pretty much by himself. Next Level was quick to drop off. Couldn't see any reason for it. So I'll just presume that Next Level, just class-wise, doesn't match up. Track Phantom hasn't done anything wrong. He's a fully capable horse, and a move forward is likely with Steve Asmussen training. And I think has to be considered a prime win candidate. If he gets off to the lead alone again, or with just token pressure from Next Level, he's going to be awful hard to stop. However, Nash, I think, is very intriguing, and I like a lot in this race. Now, you could go back and look at the gun runner and say, okay, his first effort in a stakes race didn't seem to be terribly competitive. But if you look back at it, given his maiden win, where he showed a ton of speed and a lot of potential, the gun runner, it looked to me, in retrospect, when you look back at it, that I think Brad Cox is trying to teach this horse how to rate. Left him mid-pack, let him sit back and rate and try to make a move in the stretch, which he did. Granted, it wasn't enough to get to Track Phantom, but if you look back, I don't think they asked this horse at all in the stretch. I can't recall seeing where they went to the whip, and he still got third. I think that gives you a pretty good idea of the talent of this horse. And I think now that he's got his feet wet, got a race under him where he learned how to maybe get some dirt kicked in his face and rate a little bit, I think he's going to offer a really good race here. Should be rating just off Track Phantom. And he does have a little bit of an edge natural speed-wise, I think. And he should get the jump. And I think he's got a really good shot to get to Track Phantom in this spot, and I like Nash. Awesome Road is one that had a pretty good maiden win and then followed it up with a couple of clinkers. He's getting better, though. His last race saw a little something there. Again, I think he's one that he's maybe more of a project than some of the other Cox trainees, but the last time he made a move at the top of the stretch and was in contention before flattening out, And maybe it was just an instance of he's learning how to come from off the pace. So I think an improved effort is possible and likely. And if that's the case, I think he can run a good race and factor in it. Underneath, I think would be more likely. 8-1, I think you're getting good value. So Awesome Road, not necessarily a win candidate to me, but one I think that you can include in the bottom of your exotics. Ethan Energy, I really liked his last race. He was awful professional, came from off the pace, swung out, closed with authority, had every earmark of a horse that is definitely on the right track and is going to get better. At 4-1, I think you're getting the best value in the field, and I think if you get Track Phantom and Nash locking horns, then Ethan Energy could benefit from that, and will get the jump on maybe a Can Group or some of the others. And I like Ethan Energy a lot in this spot. Can Group has been running primarily on turf, but he can run on dirt. He's proven that. He's a late runner. He comes from off the pace, and I just don't know if he's going to have enough in the tank to get by some of the more prominent horses. I also don't know that he's going to have really pace to run to. That will be set up his closing kick, and then I'm not sure his closing kick is good enough. So I think under is very likely for sure, but I don't see him as a win candidate in this race. So if we look at our ticket, leg 1, race 9, we're going to spread. I think it's a race that's pretty well balanced, and I think I don't think it's overly defined. So we're going to use 4, 5, 8, and 9. In the Silver Bullet Day, I think it's Perfect Shot or West Omaha. One of those two is the most likely to me. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to throw in the Oklahoma horse Code West. But as I mentioned, I just have a feeling it might be a little too much at this stage of the game. So we'll go with 1, 6. Race 11, leg 3, another one I believe that we should be spreading in. We're going to use 1, 2, 6, and 9. And I think that's primarily due to a lot of the horses having some vulnerability. So we want to try to get some value home, and I think we got a shot at that one. More than any other race, I think race 11 is the one that has the potential to offer value. Leg 4, race 12, I think it's a question. It's Smile Happy or Saudi Crown, pretty form-fitting, and I think it's one of those two, so we'll use the 2 and the 3. Excuse me. And then finally in leg 5, the Lecomte, I think it's Nash's race to lose. I really like Nash in this spot. However, Ethan's Energy, I think offers value, and I think has a really good shot to upset the apple cart. And of course, we have to include Track Phantom, a horse who hasn't done anything wrong. And so I think it's one of those 2, 4, and 7. So 4 times 2 times 4 times 2 times 3 is $192. That's a $96 ticket on a 50-cent base. And this is a pretty challenging sequence. There is a couple of these races, particularly on the turf. I think that we got to hope for value. The others are a little more form-fitting to me, but hopefully we can get a good score out of it. I think there's a lot of value in some of these races in this pick 5. There's some pretty well-balanced fields, and I think there's some potential to be sure. In some of those turf races in particular, they got some very interesting fields. So I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck as always. Please like and subscribe if you do like the content here. We do thank you for coming by. Hope to see you throughout the Derby Trail and the rest of the thoroughbred racing season. That's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.